Hello and welcome back to our series of vids about implementing home automation system. This home automation system is shared on GitHub. I will put the code to it, to link to the path to it in the description. And also this GitHub repository contains description file showing all the steps that are needed to set up the system. And this vid is part of series describing how we implement particular parts of the system. In earlier vids I described which radio receivers and transmitters we use to operate radio controlled power switches like this one, and also in earlier vid I described and show how we read the codes to such power switch using this power switch remote, and then how we use the signal to turn it off and off using this using our Raspberry Pi. So these standard power switches, as you see, you simply connect it to your mains and then you can connect something to it. But what about lights at your house, which you usually turn on and off using switches in your walls? Well, in such cases, simply using such power switch is not very practical. So in this case, we will use actually a different type of radio controlled power switch that I will present to you in this vid. So this is basically it. These particular switches are from Conrad Electronics. Its ID is RSLU. There are many such power switches from other manufacturers as well. So what we have here is simply a power switch, also radio controlled, also in this case 433 MHz, which you can hide inside of your lamp or inside of your mains power boxes or in other places, and it will also be able to operate it using our Raspberry Pi. This one is a model which actually has these additional cables. It works in a way that you can actually connect these cables to normal lamp switches like this one, and when you simply connect them, it toggles the mode. But we will not use these cables. And this one is actually a switch that sort of imitates normal switch. As you can see, it has no connections from the backside because this is also a radio switch. So we will use, and this also was bought in Conrad Electronics, but I saw that this can be bought also from other manufacturers, so the same set. So this is controlled by radio signals, and it simply is a radio controlled power switch, 433 MHz, and this is actually a radio transmitter which simply sends on or off signals. And I will just show you how it works. So it works on battery, but don't worry about the battery. This battery actually lasts at least in normal use. For normal use, this battery lasts for like 1 year with no sweat. So you put the battery, and you simply here and here you have those sticking out plastic elements that will push those buttons here. And as you can see, when you will turn around, there's this small red LED which shows that it's working. Okay, so normally let's put it on. So when it's dark, when you turn it on and off, you actually see this red dot blinking here, which shows you that you know. So normally that would be the switch that you simply put on your wall, and this you put into your lamp or whatever device you want to control, and you control it with this switch. Now, how you pair, because usually you buy these apart. So you buy this, and you may or may not buy this. You pair these using functionality of these radio controlled power switches, that they learn which radio signal turns them on, and you control it by using this small little button. Simply, I will show you just that in a second. When you turn this device on and you hold this button for a longer time, it will simply put itself into the learning mode, and then you turn this device and it will teach this one that it should listen to this to signals from this device. However, if you were using just Raspberry Pi, then you can simply prepare your custom code, and you simply can send this code using RF sniffer that I show you in previous vid, and this would actually teach this receiver also this code. However, our goal is to have this device work with Raspberry Pi and also with wall switches, so we will be able to operate the lamp manually from wall switch and also from Raspberry Pi. So now I will just assemble some I will connect these devices to mains to show you how it works. Please don't play with mains if you don't know how, or if you do not have experience, just on the margin. And then I will show you how to operate this with Raspberry Pi, which process will be very similar to what I show you in previous vid regarding these power switches. It will be basically the same. We will be also using the RS sniffer library. Anyways, let's connect it and see how it works. To do so, I will use this very crude bulb, which will simply show us if it's working or not. You connect these devices by connecting mains to the outers, and the device you want to operate to the inner connectors. So let's do the connection. So let's connect first our lamp. Okay, now I will connect cables of the mains, and these are of course not connected to the mains yet. I'll connect them after I am fully prepared for it. So this is the one and the second one. So now I want to show you how to pair transmitter with the receiver. You connect everything, so you connect it to the mains now. Now push this button for a longer period of time. This starts blinking, and now turn this one, push this one and keep it pushed. Okay, it stopped blinking. Now click on this again, this starts blinking, push and keep it pushed. Okay. And it's paired. So now this is paired with this transmitter and receiver. So in normal conditions we could already use it. Our goal is now to read codes from this transmitter, so we'll be able to also use these codes with our Raspberry Pi. So let's get to it. So I rearranged my desk, and that will allow me to share my desktop, showing my screen, what commands I use to obtain the code from the transmitter, and to send them using the obtain the code from the transmitter, read it with receiver, and then send it with transmitter, so we can operate this switch with a manual switch and with Raspberry Pi. The procedure is exactly the same as it was for the radio controlled switches that I presented in previous vid. So we will also use RF sniffer library, and at this point I assume that you have RF sniffer library already on your Raspberry Pi, and if you follow the series about home automation system deployment that I share in description, so the solution is on GitHub and it contains description file that describes how the deployment should be performed. So at this point I assume that you did follow the steps in this file and you have the solution also deployed to Raspberry Pi. So let me present you. Of course this still works manually, and now we'll try to read it from Raspberry Pi. So on Raspberry Pi I enter the folder when I have my solution deployed. As you can see, now we are in the terminal, which already moved to this particular directory. It's our www.html home radio devices, and now we will obtain the code. We do this by initiated RF sniffer. So RF sniffer is running. Let's obtain the code. I will just push on. I see the codes, I see that they repeat, so I assume they are okay. I push off. And again, I see codes, I see that they repeat themselves, so they should be okay. So now we will try to, I will write down these codes and we'll try to send them using sending method. So for sending method we will use different file this time. Previously we were using code send file, now we'll use code send Conrad file. This file differs from the previous one that we used in previous vid just because it has different pulse length used to generate the signal, because these devices apparently need different pulse length. So the code send file is a sort of universal file. It should fit most of devices, but sometimes you will find some devices that you will not work with it, and in such case you should Google for proper settings, and if you find these settings you can change the file and regenerate the files with make, I mean the RF sniffer files, and then use this newer file for your needs, and also you can incorporate it into the home automation system. So let's see if we can send the file. So and the number was it works. Now let's try the off signal. Hope I did it right. And it was again. So on and off. And also I can do it manually, so I can turn on manually and then turn off from Raspberry, or I can turn on in Raspberry and turn off here. So this is the second type of radio controlled switches. Its setup is very similar to the first one, and I think with this we'll finish the part about radio controlled switches. Maybe I'll do some short bit that will wrap it up, and that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I encourage you to take a look at the home automation system that I shared on GitHub. It's really very convenient, and take care. Have a nice day.